So I wanted to talk about equipment. What some people ask me, what do I need to buy? What's the basics that I need to buy? And to me, there you can buy almost nothing and start. And I used to, that's an example, I used to make holes at the bottom of my cottage cheese containers, put them in a yogurt container because then I would have some space, and then the water would go on the lower part and less chances of rotting. So that was my technique. With my drill, I would make holes at the bottom. For a long time, that's what I was using. Now that I have a bigger project, I use these, and I use like containers like this, the square ones, because the square ones, they are less likely to fall. They take less space than the round one. You can do more with less space. So I like my square ones. That's what I prefer. You can use what you have. That's like an old school container for desks that I've had for years that I'm still using, and an old tray. I think it's like over 30 years old, and to put my things on. So I work on a cover like that just to limit the dirt that gets on the table. I bought some stuff that have been totally useless, like this was to put my seeds, but it ended up just not working, too small, and humidity stays in there. Best solution was really my little envelopes. There's not even glue on them. They're the cheapest ones. I just fold them. So that's for my seeds. I put all my seeds, like all my zucchinis together, all my onions together, and reuse containers, you know, that I have. You definitely don't have to buy a lot. A good shovel, but a kid's shovel could work, you know, but I must say this one has been, I really love this one. I've used all kinds of stuff, but this is really one that I love a lot. Well, you could use a juice the juice containers there, but some plants you don't want to water the leaves, so probably having a long tip like that is preferable. The one thing that, if you have to buy one thing, this is, I'm going to talk about it often, I think, but I love that so much. Not as much time spent with watering and filling up containers, and they are the cheaper version. I bought one for my grandkids, but for me, I got the good one. That's, if I'd say buy just one thing, I'd say buy that. And then I wanted to talk about, oh yeah, these little things, don't get those. That's to make holes. Just use a pen, make a hole with your pen. These, well, they can be nifty for when you have very small seeds, but I use my hands really. And then those, plant food. I heard once that somebody say the plants don't know what brand you're using. They don't care what brand you're using. So any brand. Of course, if you want things that are organic, go for their, I'll come back with what it is. The algae ones are preferable. We should hide the brand, but the algae ones. But whatever works for you. And then the stands, you can use the side of your window. You don't have to have a stand, or you can get a small one if you just have a little bit of vegetables you want to grow. And as long as you're near a window, you don't want it to be cold. At first you want them to be warm, so you might put them in a warmer section of your house if you don't have the warming mats. And then once they start coming out, you need light. Of course, with growing lights, it's going to go faster, bigger, but a lot of people make it in a very sunny room, so I'd say that's about it for equipment. I think I've covered everything in English that I covered in French, so that's it. I wanted to talk about markers. I had forgotten, and it was my cousin Natalie that said, oh, you forgot about those. So important. You want to make sure that you have your, when you plant your seeds, you want to know what's in there, because you'll have a multitude of little plants and you'll have no idea what they are if you haven't marked them. I want to talk about what I use, but there are different options out there. Definitely, I prefer the plastic ones, although I don't like buying or using plastic. But if I'm going to reuse it for years and years, it's not going to go into the recycling or garbage. So I'm okay with that. So that is what works the best for me. I have a lot of them, so I reuse them. I keep them year after year, like I said, and I have to, right now I have to do all the tomatoes together, so I will just, if it's a new one, I cut them to length, because you don't want, when you're doing your seeding, the dome that's going to go over it, you don't want your marker to keep the dome open, so you want to make sure it's closed so that you're keeping your humidity inside your container. So I will, like one like that will definitely be cut. Here's an example. That was my Blue Hubbard La Courge. Can't remember the English word, but that was one of them that I cut last year, and I'll be reusing it. I use a permanent marker. Although if this is going to go outside, I like to put, and I did this one, I like to put Scotch tape over it, because with the sun and the water outside, it'll disappear on you. So if you want to make sure that it stays, if it goes outside, you're better to put Scotch tape on it. I do not use those. I would tell anybody not to use those, because with time, they get water on it too much and they will rot. But also it seems to, I've seen like fungus around it, so that would develop. So I would say, and the marking on it is hard to, it'll disappear on you. So I would really tell people not to use that. There's a lot of other things out there, rocks, and I mean, people do their own thing, but I just wanted to share what works for me. So those are the ones that work for me. So that's for the markers.